Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Gibson Sigauke Show. If you are here, just say I am here. Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Hello and welcome to the show. Nice to meet you guys. This is like the very first day of the Gibson Sigauke Show. So I want to welcome all of you. I'm going to be holding this show every day, Monday to Friday, at the same time. And if we change anything, we'll let you know. If you're just hearing me right now, just type in the chat that you're hearing me so that I know that I'm laudable. Just say hello. Just confirm that yes, you are hearing me right now, loud and clear, so that we can move forward. But welcome to this Gibson's Gauge Show. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Right. Right. So we're gonna be talking about different topics, different subjects at this show. This is going to be very interesting. Um, as we move forward, as we move forward. Okay. So today, let's just get started by talking about the topic that is on the flyer, right? The topic that is um on the flyer, money and God. Is it wrong to want to be rich? Is it wrong to be rich at all? What does the Bible actually say about all these things, right? I think the answer most people will kind of like really understand and know what the answer is, but it is all about explaining how do we get to that answer and exactly what is expected of me as a Christian, as a believer in God, when it comes to riches and stewardship, right? And I think that is the most important question that people always have and that people have right now. And having said that, I want to really focus on not necessarily is it just right to be rich. I think the actual thing is if you look around yourself, there are people who are rich and poor, both believers in God and non-believers in God, both Christians and non-Christians, right? Any kind, any type of people, being rich and being poor, it is just a thing that anyone can have, despite of your spiritual beliefs or alignment to some extent. Okay, but the question is, how do I actually become rich? Maybe that is the right question. Is it wrong to be rich or to want to be rich? I think that is just your ambition. Okay. If you have an ambition to be rich and you're doing it the right way, then there is no problem with that. But I think the right question that people want to ask when they're asking this type of question is, how do I become rich? I think that is the most important thing that people are actually wanting to understand when they are talking about all these kind of things, right? So I will attack that one, and I will say I'm going to use Luke's chapter 6, right? um and I'm going to read it or just paraphrase it. But it says, give and it will be given unto you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the same measure that you use, it will also be measured to you, right? So basically, it is saying if you give, it will be given back to you, right? Now, a lot of people, when they talk about giving, they're talking about giving into the church, giving into, that kind of a thing. But I don't want to focus on that right now. What I want to focus on is you giving to other people, right? And I will take that back to say this actually means creating value. If you can give value to other people, then people will also give you back. So it's basically you creating value. And after creating value, people will pay you for that value. So this is exactly how people get rich, by creating value. And what does it mean to create value? To create value just means you are finding a problem and then you're solving that problem. then people pay you for solving that problem, which means there is a problem and you are bringing a solution to that problem. That's what basically it means. You are the guy who is seeing a problem in somebody's life and you're saying, I'm going to solve that problem. How am I going to solve that problem? Right? Then you create a solution. And then if you can give a person that solution to the problem that they have, people will pay you for that solution. And that's how you have created value. In other words, you have just given. You have just what you have just done is you are giving something to somebody. So give, and it shall be given back to you. You see that you are giving value, and how do you give value? By uh, saving somebody, by creating a solution. And when you do that, you're taking time and you're taking your resources and you're taking your mental capabilities to create a solution that you are then either selling or, in other words, giving to other people. And then people will give back unto you. So if you look closely, people who are having businesses, what they are just doing is they sell this t-shirt, right? And then people will pay them, let's say $20 for a t-shirt. So if they can sell 1,000 t-shirts, they are going to collect $20 times 1,000, which is $20,000. People are giving them back. So if you give, it shall be given back unto you. Praise down, shaken together. Why? People are seeing value in that. That is the mechanism that I want you to catch from the scripture today. And so the question is not, should I be rich? I think the question should be, how do I become rich? And my answer is very simple. You have to create value and then you sell that value. You have to create a solution for a problem, and then people will pay you for that problem. People will pay you for the solution that you've created to solve a specific problem. So there should be a problem and there should be a solution that is bringing transformation. And once you do that, you are creating value, right? You are creating value. And by creating value, you are actually giving. So you create a solution, you give it to people, they give back, they pay you. And that is God's economy. Man flows through those who save, not those who are just begging, but those who save. So you need to save by creating a solution, and then people will pay you back, right? So you give the solution to the people will pay you back. And I think, to me, that is God's economy. That's exactly how the economy of God should be working, like, right? And these solutions that you are bringing, sometimes, you know what, you just stumble on them. It's not like they are obvious. But when you are in a process of doing something, you will stumble on some of the problems that you can actually solve. Right? Yeah. So I once started a hatchery business, like a chicken hatchery business at some point in time. And how I started that business was, I was just thinking, I want to raise my own chickens so that I can eat my own chickens. I want to feed my own chickens, these so-called roadrunner chickens, right? Like, they're not broilers per se, but they're just roadrunner chickens. You're feeding them, they're like free range chicken. So I wanted to just keep a little bit for myself. So I bought about 200 chicks. And I said, I'm going to raise these chickens and I'm going to maybe sell a little bit and then eat the rest. But in the process of doing that, of raising those chickens, I then realized that these chickens can actually lay eggs. And you can actually then incubate those eggs to create other chicks. But I was in the process of just raising chickens for myself. And when I was telling people that I am raising these chickens to feed myself, people started to ask, like, can you give me some eggs? I want eggs for these chickens, from these chickens. And some people started to ask, where can I get also the chicks? Right? And with time, I realized everybody's looking for the chicks. So what did I do? I then invested in an incubator and started to just hatch a little bit of eggs from the incubator. And I started to sell those chicks. I started with an incubator which was hatching 200 eggs. And then suddenly I realized people were actually asking for these chicks. They needed these chicks to raise their own chickens. So I invested in another incubator which was going to hatch 2,000 eggs. And to cut the long story short, the demand continued to increase. And I ended up having an incubator which was able to hatch 30,000 eggs per month. Actually, it was a set of incubators, 4 incubators, which could hatch 30,000 chicks per month. But how did it start? It just started when I was raising my own chickens, and then I started to realize that there was a problem of chicks. People needed chicks, they wanted chicks. And when I started to hatch the chicks and I was selling them the chicks, suddenly there was a business. I was creating a solution for them through hatching eggs and selling chicks to them. They needed the chicks. So people started to pay me. And as I continued to do that, I then realized that at some point in time, after a long period of time, like 9 months, the people that I've sold chicks to, now they had their own chickens, and their own chickens were also hatching eggs. And they started to come back to me and said, you know what, I have these chickens, they are hatching eggs, but I don't know what to do with the eggs. I want to sell the eggs. I don't know where to sell. Can you buy my eggs, and can you pay me so that you can hatch more chicks, sell the chicks, but you pay me for the eggs? And just like that, again, I started to buy their eggs and to hatch chicks using their eggs. So at the end of the day, I had a constant supply of eggs from my previous customer, and then I was selling the chicks to new customers. So I was solving two problems now. I was solving this problem of people who were looking for chicks, but I was also solving the problem of people with chickens laying eggs, but they did not know how to offload the eggs. And to cut the long story short, I ended up having the bulk of the eggs that I was hatching from other people. And I was selling the chicks to those who wanted the chicks. So the chickens that I actually had for myself were now producing way much less eggs as compared to the total number of eggs that I was hatching, because I was buying eggs from these other people. But I was solving these problems. People needed chicks, and I was giving them those chicks. And it was actually a very profitable business, right? But it just started as a hobby. Now, the thing that I'm trying to say is you can actually make money when you started to solve a problem that people needed solved. Okay. But for you to do that, you need a skill. So I didn't know how to hatch eggs. I didn't know how incubators actually work for hatching eggs. It was not my territory. It was not my field. So I started to learn about that. I started to travel to different districts, different towns, seeing people were doing that, asking questions, being trained. I started to learn a skill on exactly how to run an incubator and how to run this chicken business. I actually invested in doing that. So I actually learned a skill to do that. And that's what you need. You need a skill to create value. You must have something to give. You need to create value. But for you to do that, you must have a skill so that you can actually have something that you give to a people. So in my case, in this story that I'm telling you, I needed to know how to run incubators. I needed to know how to keep chicks just after birth. Like, how do I keep them warm? How do I give them good water? How do I vaccinate them? All those things I needed to learn them so that I actually have something to give to the people, so that people can buy me, can pay me for the product that I was selling. All right. So you need a skill to create this value, right? Now, if you've got any questions, just take them in the chat. I will be taking those questions. I'll be answering those questions. If you want to understand more of these things, just take me in the chat. They I will be answering those questions. I'm checking my chat. I'm checking my chat all the time. So if you've got any questions, um, let me know, right? So some people might say, okay, a lot of people ask me like, but no, what money is the love? Money is the root of evil, but the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. Actually, the Bible says money answers all things, right? But the love of money can be the root of evil, or the love of money is the root of evil, right? So that's a big difference. There is a huge, 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 huge difference that I want you to know, right? I wanted you to know. And back to the issue of the skill, when I did this hatchery business, I had to learn, I had to build it up, and I ended up selling across the whole country. So I learned the skill of doing this business. I learned the skill of hatching eggs. It's a skill. How do you run an incubator? What is needed? What are the temperatures? How do I keep the chicks immediately after they have been hatched? How do I vaccinate them? And all those things. I learned a skill. And because I had that skill, I started to create value. And because now there was value, I now could get people to pay me. So now that scripture that I read to you, Luke chapter 6:38, give and it shall be given back unto you, started to be manifested. It started to work. Why? I'm able to save, I am able to give time, I'm able to give a product, I'm able to create value, and then people started to pay me back. So you learn a skill, you then create value, and then money will follow that, right? So if you're going to ask questions like, why are some people seemingly, like they are seemingly always blessed by God financially, or they're seemingly kind of like, you know, having their things move? It is because they're just holding some principles which are very basic to how you create money and keep it, more than they're just blessed, right? Because blessing comes through knowledge. But if you're not following the knowledge, the blessing will not be manifested. Remember, the blessing is in the doing, it is not just in the knowledge. Knowledge brings you to a place where you can execute and you can see the manifestation of that blessing, right? So I want you to know that God works from the principle of stewardship. He works from the principle of, hey, you know what? I gave you the mental capabilities. I gave you time. I gave you the ability to use your hands, to walk, to think, to talk, to speak, and all these things. You have them. You be a good steward of these things? Can you be a good steward of time? Right? If you can be a good steward of time, learning skills, creating value, now money will start to follow. And once you have the money, are you also, because once you have the money, also money becomes another resource. Are you also using that resource wisely? Right? That's stewardship now. So the Bible actually speaks and says, if you're not God doesn't like people who are not profitable. The Bible says there are some people who are not profitable to God, which means when God is looking at you, He's asking like, hey, what's happening with you? Are you profitable? Are you producing results? What's happening with all the skills, all the mindset, the brain that I gave you, the ability that I gave you? What is happening to that? Remember Jesus, when he was walking, he saw a fig tree which was not giving any fruit. What did he say to the fig tree? He said, from today you are cursed. Nothing will happen to you again. Why? Because you're not producing fruit. He said the time when you were expected to produce some fruit came and you're not doing anything. So the fig tree was not a good steward. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Because what happens is you end up just complaining, sitting down, and you're saying, you know what, there are no jobs, there are no this, I cannot do that, I cannot do that. But the truth being said is the time that you have is the first resource that you actually have. The mental capacity that you have is another resource that you actually have right now. You don't need to pay money for that mental resource. You don't need to pay money for the time that you already have. So what can you do with those two? You can learn a skill. Learn a skill, right? If you can learn a skill, you can then create value. Once you start to create value, you can sell, or people will pay you for that value. All right. So just giving you an example of one of the small businesses that I started actually on a part-time basis when I was in Zimbabwe. But I can also tell you now that once you understand that you're a steward, you will also understand that wealth is just a tool. Wealth is just a tool that you can use either way that you want. Money is a tool. Your heart will decide whether it is a blessing or it is a trap. Your heart will decide whether you're going to use money as a blessing or as a trap, right? So you need to be in a place where you understand all these dynamics. You need to be in a place where you understand all these dynamics. So if you've got questions, guys, just let me know. I'll also be answering these questions, to be honest with you. Yes, but I love to be seeing people in the chat just saying something, right? Okay, so I'll quickly transition into um you know, into the next topic. So I told you that you need to create value, and I said you need a skill. So the number one skill right now, let me tell you about the number one skill in 2026 right now as you're listening to me. The number one skill right now, if you're a young person, even if you're running your own company, is AI, right? AI is the new skill that people are using to create value or to uh, leverage so that they can increase the value that they have been creating, right? When I told you that I did the hatchery business, so I had to learn a skill of how to run that. But today you need to learn AI. using AI, it is exactly how one ordinary person can now create value at scale without too much money, without capital, without staff, right? You don't need to be a tech genius to do this. You just need to learn one tool, or just two, three tools, and then you need to find a problem that you can solve with that tool. Or you look for a problem and then you look for AI tools that are solving that problem. Okay, so that's exactly how you do these things, right? Luke chapter 6 verse 38 says, give and it shall be given unto you, a good measure pressed down, shaken together shall people put in your bosom. If you learn AI and solve problems for businesses, people will start to pay you for that, right? If you start to create videos for businesses, if you start to do social media management for businesses, if you start to do AI automation and the AI workflows right now, business will start to pay you for that. You are giving value and business will pay you, people will pay you back. And that's exactly how this thing is working right now. In this current to 2026 period of time, right? This is exactly what is happening, guys. This is exactly what is happening. So I'm happy to be talking to you about AI. I'm happy to be talking to you about the new skills that are actually coming up. But you know what? If you can just build wealth and learn skills and still you lose your health or your body will break down, um what will that benefit you? It will not benefit you that much, right? So in this show also, I have a segment which I call Ask the Pharmacist. And I'm going to be specializing and talk more about diseases which are commonly known these days. Uh, I'm going to focus on metabolic diseases, but you know what? In layman's language, we're just focusing on things to do with your diabetes. Like what happens in diabetes? How can you prevent diabetes? How does diet affect you to do that? Are you taking diabetic medications? What are the things that you should worry about? Why? How should you carry yourself? Right? A lot of people are pre-diabetic and they don't even know it. And metabolic diseases are so rampant in many people, but they are silent because they don't produce any pain when they are just initiating themselves, right? You can eat wrong, drink whatever you want for 10, 20 years, nothing, your body will just feel okay. But when you start to 10, 40 years age and things like that, now a lot of things will just start to be wrong. Why? Because maybe metabolic processes are no longer working very well. So in this show also, I'll be taking questions as a pharmacist, because I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for more than 20 years now, but I truly and practically practice pharmacy for almost like 16 years, right? In a row. Worked in an industry, manufacturing medicines, worked with patients, managing diabetes, hypertension, and a lot of other things, right? So I am a pharmacist, just sharing general education. This will not be personal medical advice. It's not for your own situation. It is general medical advice, right? If you want specifics for your health, you go to your medical doctor. Okay, so this is a disclaimer. This is a pharmacist level of general education, but there is no patient pharmacist doctor relationship that I'm trying to create with you. I'm just trying to teach people more about metabolism, metabolic diseases, pre-diabetes, diabetes, the medicines that are used in diabetes, hypertension, and things like that, so that you know your numbers, okay? And you know those boring habits that will save you or keep you away from the needle or the pill, okay? And I'll also be talking about what medication can do, what medication cannot do, and yeah, I'll also bring a lot of compassion into this, guys. So if you've got questions about, hey, you know what, I just want to understand my numbers, I just want to know how do I check if I'm pre-diabetic or not, and things like that. Yes, I have you covered, guys. I will be talking a lot about that on this show. You can also type in the chat room right now. I will be able to help you with that. Okay. So yeah, so to start with, I would just say for today's tip, if you want to know more about diabetes, if you want to know more about what we're gonna be doing in this show, I can say honestly, just if it is about pre-diabetes, diabetes, and metabolism, I think as we're starting, we don't want to sound very complicated. I will say today, this is the takeaway for today on this section. Start to eat well, right? And start to exercise. Just move. And by eating well, what do I mean? Basically, what I'm saying when I say eat well, um, first principle: try to eat less. Whatever you are eating, just try to eat less. I can guarantee you, the amount of food that people eat is just too much. Especially if you're in America. I mean, those plates, those portions, wherever you go, they're just too big. If you're in America, just eat half or a quarter of whatever people are giving you. If you go to a restaurant, whatever they're giving you, don't eat everything. Just eat less. Wherever you are, if you're in Zimbabwe, if you are in Africa, wherever you are, if you're in Nigeria, try to eat less. That's the first lesson that you can catch as you are getting started. Just eat less and try not to snack things in between meals. Try not to snack a lot of things, especially, uh, you know, if they are not just simple nuts or things like that. But okay, number one, I said eat less. So just eat less. Number two, just try to exercise. Move for at least 30 minutes, do a brisk walk, go to the gym, run, do something about that, right? And I just want to tell you, my fellow Africans and blacks, that gaining weight is not a symbol of good living. Gaining weight is a sign that most likely your body mass index is out of range, which is um maybe first symptoms of obesity or first symptoms. It's just showing you that something is going to be wrong, maybe in the next 5 years, maybe in the next 10 years, right? Gaining a lot of weight, just being too big, and things like that. And the other thing that I want also you to know as a pharmacist is, um the weight that you have right now, that's 90% your habits or your decision, right? In the past, like a long time ago in the 1980s, 1990s, a lot of Africans were not overweight because food was not massively produced like it is right now, and it was not as cheap as it is right now. So you might be thinking, oh, I'm poor, I don't have food. Let me tell you, for this generation right now, everyone might be poor, but everyone has got food. And everyone has got food in abundance, like a lot of it. Food is so cheap, it is being massively produced by these big companies, and everyone has got access to this junk food. So the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter. Don't look at your pocket and say, "Oh, I'm poor. Oh, I'm only getting a little with this. Oh, I'm not employed. So how am I getting? How can you say I'm rich? I'm eating too much when I no, you are eating too much." Like if I ask you a very point blank question right now, when was the last time you actually ate something with sugar, something with cooking oil, something with meat? Oh yeah, maybe every day. Maybe every day. So you're eating, yeah, you're eating a lot. So to start with, just eat less. Secondly, start to move, start to exercise. We will talk a lot about different types of medicines which are used to treat diabetes. We're going to talk a lot about other things, but for today, I think that's a good takeaway. Eat less, start moving. You might also give me more questions in the chat whenever you see this, and we can talk more about that, right? Yeah, but for today, I will say that's good enough. Okay. um yeah, so we've talked a little bit about faith, we've talked a little bit about wealth, health, your skills, um but I think to have total meaning in life, you also need your relationships to be in a certain place, right? um so let's talk about relationships, and on this show I'll be focusing more on love relationships, finding love, especially in the diaspora, right? If you're in the diaspora, how do you find love? So I've got a lot of people who have been asking me these questions as a pastor, right? Like, hey, I'm looking for a partner. How do I do this? How do I do that? So a lot of people are talking and questioning the status quo of finding love, especially to those who are in the diaspora. But I think this applies to everyone, even if you're in Africa right now, because things have changed, right? Finding a good partner is way much harder right now. And why is it harder? It is because things have changed. In the past, you used to meet people at work, you used to meet people at school, at church, in your neighborhood, and that was very, very customarily um, easy to do. Okay, but things have changed a lot, especially after COVID. Churches are even meeting online, right? People are working from home and they're working online. People no longer greet each other, when they're working in their neighborhoods, and our neighborhoods are now very big, but also very isolated. People are no longer interacting with each other as they used to do in the past. So the communities, the church, the families, all those introductions, which normally used to happen, are not happening because people are not meeting, right? So I'm focusing on trying to make people adjust, adapt, and start to learn the new ways of finding love or finding partners, either online or in some ways. Okay, so here we are going to be talking about finding love. We are, and if you're in the diaspora, you are actually, we really want and love to try and help you find love, right? Either you're finding it here in the diaspora or you're finding it anywhere else. But we're going to help anyone, right? We're going to help anyone. So the way we start doing that is we just want people to tell us what are their challenges. And if you're single and you're searching and you want a stable relationship that will ultimately lead into a marriage, yes, text to us in the chat, inbox us, wherever you're watching us right now. Just find the inbox and come to us. You can even text in the chat right now, and we'll follow up. That's how we're going to get started, right? At the end of the day, we'll start to bring guests. We're going to run some shows with single and searching partners, people who are searching. They talk to each other online on this show, and people will comment about that and things like that. So we're going to bring a lot of things like that, right? So if you're single and you're searching, let me know in the chat. Drop a love in the chat. Tell us that you're single, you're searching, and let's be honest about this talk. Let us talk honestly about this, right? Yeah, so we want to create an atmosphere, an environment which is safe for people to actually look for love, for people to actually be happy about all those kind of things, guys, right? Yeah, so this is what we are doing. This is what we are doing. This is where we are. Let me know in the chat there. Let me know in the chat there. Yeah, but as we're gonna conclude this show, as this show right now, I think we've gone deep enough today. Talked about money, talked about health, talked about love. Let's lighten it up, right? uh let's lighten it up a little bit with some funny, so uh I have this character that I call Mr. Siga, which is a funny character, right? Which does some kind of comedy. But right now, what we're doing, because it's the World Cup season, we are doing what we call watch parties. So watch parties on this same platform, especially if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, we are doing watch parties on YouTube. If you just go on our page, please subscribe to our page, and we will be going live. We are targeting African countries, right? Of course, we're gonna be do watch parties for other teams like Argentina, like Brazil, and all these other good countries that you know about, and the United States of America, of course. But we're doing one watch party a day until the World Cup is over, right? Or until the World Cup gets into the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and things like that. So you will be watching your television, you'll be watching on the computer, yes, but you can watch with us. You will come in the chat, you also make comments, you do your analysis, we put it on the screen, and we're just creating a community of people who are watching the World Cup together, right? The World Cup will only come after 4 years, every 4 years. And I watch the World Cup because it comes every 4 years, right? I grew up loving soccer, but I don't watch every match like the Premier League every weekend and things like that. I might watch highlights, but I watch the World Cup. I watch the World Cup. I love the World Cup experience, and come and let us have a World Cup experience together. And join the parties, right? And follow this show. Follow this show. We'll be having this show every day, Monday to Friday, until I don't know when, right? We will be updating you. We might change the times, might change the programming, but so far it is going to be every day. And we are also going to be bringing guests, different types of guests on this YouTube channel, on this platform, the Facebook platform. So our show, the Gibson Sigauke Show, will be streaming both on Facebook. It will also be streaming on YouTube, right? So you can catch up there every time, 10 a.m. Arizona time, or whatever time you have. We will also be putting that information out there, right? But before you go, please subscribe to the channel, and like this video, and also share our flyers, share this channel with other 3 people so that they can also join. We will be dropping a lot of value on this channel. Thank you so much for attending today. I love you so much, and I know God is going to do great things for you. But hey, my name is Gibson Sigauke, and thank you so much for coming to this show today. If you've got questions, just drop them in the chat. We will pick them up and we will proceed to go forward. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you.